Hello. Hello, I'm Emmy the Neat, and, I just wanted to talk about my, past history with mental illness and depression. Uh, it's gonna be a really long story. This might be a couple of videos. But, I'll start where it all began. I had my first break with reality in ninth grade. That's your first year in high school for those of you not in America. Uh, it happened around finals, so the stress of that, coupled with some problems with my friend groups, just broke me. I started to get really paranoid. I thought I this is really stupid. I would cover all of my electronics because I thought people were spying on me. I had a Wii at the time, and I would cover that with a blanket because I hated seeing the red dot of the Wii when it's turned off. I thought that was like a camera. Typical paranoid behavior. I started to act very strange. I started using a different name. I started behaving. It would be great if I could go back in time and get my mom to explain it better, because it's difficult for me to talk about. But my parents eventually took me to a mental hospital when they took me to our doctor first, our family practitioner, and he took one look at me and said, "You need to get her into a mental hospital. Uh, she's not herself. She's going to need help to get through this." I won't name the hospital because of what happened there. So when I arrived, both my parents actually took me. I can remember the ride over there and them arguing and yelling at each other. My dad's side of the family has a history of schizophrenia. His mother was schizophrenic, my grandmother. So my mom was blaming my dad, and he was taking it really hard. They checked me into the hospital, and the doctors immediately began giving me pills and IVs to help get me out of my really manic state. I don't know how many days it was, but I was allowed into the day room where other patients gather. I was on a lot of sedatives, I guess you could say, and everything felt like it was moving too fast around me, and I was stuck in slow motion. I guess the best comparison is Johnny Depp's performance in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, his drugovision, like where he's seeing monsters where there are normal people and he's kind of moving slowly and weirdly. It was like that with me. Uh, One of the terrible side effects of the drugs is that it wouldn't make me stop drooling. I was just Saliva was running down my mouth all the time. It was very embarrassing and difficult to to try to keep just saliva pouring down my chin. I was constantly having to use napkins. But I ran out of napkins and they just threw me in the day room while I was still having a really bad time on all the medicine. And I was scared to approach the other patients who were other teenagers my age. Boys and girls were allowed to mix together in the day room. I just sat at a table by myself, drooling, just trying to gather my thoughts and realize what's going on. I remember a guy actually approached me. One of the few times in my life an attractive man has approached me. There's only been 4 instances in my life where attractive males have actually talked to me. And I remember he asked, what's up with all the drooling? And I was moving very slowly and probably looked like some kind of... I was in a terrible state, but I told him just as a joke that I told him I was practicing being a sloth. Of course, I didn't say it in that many words. I probably took a couple of minutes to get the full sentence out because everything, it was like trying to think and walk through a swamp that the mud just dragging me down. And I remember the guy ended up laughing at me and then leaving me alone. For the next couple of days, I met with doctors and psychiatrists and therapists, and it was not a great time. Finally, my mother came to visit me, and she told me that the doctors had decided my diagnosis was schizophrenia. And after that, my memories became a little bit more clear. I guess they got me on some medicine that stopped all the drooling and the slothfulness. And I participated in like therapy events. They would have speakers come in and talk to kids and, tell them suicide is wrong and everything gets better and all that fun jazz. I mostly tried to keep to myself. The one guy who talked to me thought the sloth comment was pretty funny, and he and a bunch of other kids would pretend to drool a lot and move in slow motion and say, "We're being sloths, we're being sloths." I mostly just looked out the window by myself. And one of the speakers who came, I remember watching him walk to his car. And he looked back and he saw me watching him. And, I just waved. And trigger warning. He got to his car, then took off his pants and started to masturbate. I freaked out a little, and I just moved to another window. I didn't know whether or not I should have reported him. I guess I was just too scared at the time. I remember the food at this mental hospital was very disgusting. There was one girl who was on a vegan diet, and I'm pretty sure they just gave her leaves and grass they got from the yard outside. With all the medicine I was on, I ended up being severely constipated, and they had to give me an enema. It was just bad experiences all around. I had difficulty showering myself because I was a fall risk. And they got my mom to come and help me shower. You know, before my brother died, my mom was actually really good at taking care of people. When I first got sick, she tried her hardest to be a good mom and help me. Eventually, after weeks of being in the hospital, uh, I think I entered at the beginning of May and they let me out around June. I ended up missing my finals, so all of those grades were zeros. But weirdly enough, I still ended up graduating because I kept a pretty good grade average throughout the rest of the year, so I still managed to pass the ninth grade. Excuse me. I'm gonna have to stop this one and clear my nose before I continue.